Oh my! And the internet
okay,
can see us,
there
and
we
this
go.
is wild. But you've done this before. You've done this before. You've done the lives and the things. I've seen it all over TikTok and more. So like you're like I got this. It's fine.
No, we're good. We're good.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Okay, so it's Thursday. We're back. It's awesome, and we have a guest, Karina. Thank you so much for being here. This is like
so much for having me.
beyond cool. It's funny because Ryan and I usually do this, and it's just the two of us, and we're like finding ways to just hang out together while we do this, and then we have friends on, we have guests on, and it's like, oh, now we have to act like professionals. We have to like, okay, we gotta have some stuff ready. We gotta like have some things to talk about now.
We gotta like, I gotta make sure lighting's
there's
right.
always something to talk about when it comes to the nerdom.
There is.
We can talk about literally anything.
This is true.
Something will always come up for
this
us
is
to
so
have
true.
a conversation.
I will say I am kind of failing as a comic book geek this week. So my stack of comics you can't probably see over here, but like boxes of Mon stuff. My TBR for books is like 4 books deep. My TBR for comics is more than that at this point. Like I don't want to say how many it is at this point, but like I got a call from my comic shop on Wednesday from the normal like your pull list is ready. I'm like okay, and I haven't made it down there yet, which just adds like 9 or 10 more books to the stack of.
Oh my gosh!
Like the stack.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
awesome.
if you get in a situation with your comic book store where you're avoiding them like it's the dentist, you know that you're in a hole reading them. You know, it's like, oh no, I can't go to the store. I can't show my face there.
This is the last 2 weeks that I have not read yet.
Oh snap!
Yeah,
That is so much. Catch up.
and it's not all Star Wars. There's like this 8 Billion Genies run that seems really cool. Something called A Thing Called Truth, because that sounded brutal and awesome.
Very, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. And then Grimm, I've been buying for like a month now, and everyone says it's amazing, and I still haven't read it because I've just been lazy. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Like this is just a huge stack of books that I haven't.
That is a lot.
Yeah. I'm judging myself a little bit.
No, and then plus all the stuff now that's gonna come out with the High Republic is like it's gonna be a lot. Oh my God.
Right?
Because
I haven't read it yet. I bought it and I still haven't been able to read it.
I'm like, I've had like 3 nights of reading it now, and I think I'm like 90 pages in, and it's good. It reminds me, I will, no spoilers. It reminds me, pacing and story. It reminds me a lot of Padawan.
Okay.
So it has that kind of
Because it's a YA, right? It's a young.
Yes,
young
it
adult
absolutely
novel.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's YA. So it's, but it's good. Like it's introducing some things that we need to hear, but in typical last year High Republic fashion. It's it's introducing them in sort of a chill way. Like it's not. The High Republic has been so much about these outposts. It's not so much about Coruscant and the bulk of the Jedi Order on Coruscant. It's all about these outposts and what's happening.
Outside,
and the fact that we're like 150 years even further in the past, where prospecting hyperspace lanes is so much more of a thing. Yes,
I love the whole topic with hyperspace lane. So, I'm still so confused about it, but it's so interesting.
So I'm gonna leave it there. I won't, because anything else I say probably will easily turn into a spoiler, and I'm just gonna leave.
No, but see, I love that they started with the YA, because honestly, YA in the middle school books were my favorites.
Right.
Like the whole, all the stories with the Padawans and their little adventures. Like Midnight Horizon is my favorite book out of the whole High Republic.
Such a good book. Just
So
right
good.
there, like her, right there. Justine Ireland.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel Jose Older, awesome. Charles Soule, awesome. Everyone in Project Luminous, like Kevin Scott, awesome. But Justina, she writes some good books.
Amazing. I can't wait. I'm hoping that I get to meet them on Saturday when I'm in the panel.
That would be.
So
I will be following all the pictures and TikToks and everything that you made. Ryan, she's going to New York Comic Con on Saturday.
I was just about to ask. So you're going to the New York Comic Con? That's awesome.
Yes, I am. I'm so excited.
That is an event like no other. And I mean, I go to a lot of those types of events, and I've never been to the New York one, but I know that it's huge. I know that it's big. There's a couple of people that I follow online that, man, they talk about that event like there's nothing else. And some of the videos and things that I've seen out of that, it's unreal. So good on you. That's awesome. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the the High Republic panels. They're also gonna have Stories of the Galaxy panels. I'm also going to the Shadow and Bone panel. I don't know if you've seen it on Netflix.
Okay.
Shadow and Bone. But Brent Barnes.
Yes, the Netflix series. Oh my gosh, yes. Like you said Ben Barnes. It took me a second. Like Shadow and Bone. Why do I know this? Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm doing that. I'm also gonna be. I don't know if you guys follow Temple of Geek. They're like this nerd media company. Okay, so I'm really cool with with like one of the main persons there, and she asked me as a favor if I can do the interviews for the cast of the Mortal Kombat Legends animation movies. So I'm gonna be interviewing them. That's what I went to go see the movie on yesterday on Wednesday. It's a early screening, and it's coming out I think October 9th. So I went to go see the movie. Now I'm gonna interview them on Saturday.
That's so
cool. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm getting my photo op with Brendan Fraser, which is like the most important thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You can just like mic drop right there and be like, I'm out. I'm done. I am done for tonight. Have a good night, everybody. See ya.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for that. I was trying to get into the panel for Oscar Isaac. He's gonna be doing, talking, but as soon as the reservations opened, I went in as soon as it opened, and I still had to wait an hour online in order to be able to. As soon as I came in, everything was gone. The Jamie Lee Curtis for Halloween special that they're gonna do for her, done. The Oscar Isaac, done. Doom Patrol, they're doing also a panel, done. I was like, oh my god! But at least I'm gonna be able to do the photo op, and I think I'm also going to the Lord of the Rings. They're doing a panel thing as well.
That sounds like
Saturday
so much
night.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't wait to I'm going to be socially stalking you all weekend long. I'm totally no shame. That's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely hyped. And then tomorrow night, I think they're going to, a lot of the creators are going to do the after Comic-Con party thing. So I might be able to see. I'm meeting up. I don't know if you know Jen Markham. She does all the amazing cosplay videos.
Which ones?
Jen Mark. She does a lot. She does with Grogu. Like she does her own little stories with Grogu and stuff.
No, I don't think I've seen those.
No, oh my gosh, she's like huge. Like she has like over 1 million followers on TikTok and stuff. And she's from New York. She's based from New York too. So I'm gonna be chilling with her too. Yeah, so it's gonna be really fun this weekend.
You brought up a show that I would love to talk. Like I could have a whole episode on Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol is already like an amazing comic book, and if I could just throw out here too, like something crazy. One, Flex Mentallo appears in a series of episodes, and but that's like one of the greatest comic books I've ever read. That is so like I know that people throw around like esoteric, and it's like everybody says stuff like that, but man, it's like every part of that comic book was like a visceral experience for me. Like I loved that comic book so much. And what's crazy is I did not know this until I started watching the show. Someone I went to high school with, April Bowlby, is Rita Farr, Elastigirl on that show. And I was like,
oh my god.
Yeah, like we were in classes together, and I was like, hey, this person looks really familiar. Who is this? Oh my gosh, we went to high school.
That is so cool. Oh my god, that's awesome.
But Brendan Fraser, all of that. I love that show.
That show, I'm so glad that because right now Warner Brothers is a whole fiasco. With HBO Max and everything. I'm just happy that they decided to stick with the third season and giving us that third season of Doom Patrol at least.
Yeah,
because I was gonna be pissed if they canceled that too.
Right.
No,
but the show was amazing.
Yeah, that show is so great, and I'm not joking around. We could make this, Jeff, the Doom Patrol chat for a whole night, and we could
dude. We have so many expansions of the show we can make. Like it's Star Trek chat, Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, like you name it. Like it's just geek chat for the most part. Like that's just and Star Wars happens to be like the route that we start with, and it just goes from there.
But that's fun because I mean I'm sure anybody will love to tune in for all of that because it's just it's so just like an intersectionality with all these fandoms and stuff. So it would be really cool. Yeah,
100%. Well, okay. we have probably a ton more to say. So let's just jump into it. We'll just get into it, and we'll just see where it goes from there. Okay, here we go. Oh, Karina, every time I do this,
I'm blue.
No, you're not. There you are.
There you go.
There you are.
I'm here.
I'll have to fix it on the other scenes too. Here, we're gonna do this real quick for the guests who are watching. I'm a bad host. I'm gonna fix this. Here, we're gonna fix this right now because so that this can be more engaging later. I apologize. Here. No. You don't get to have that yet. You don't get to have that yet. Okay, there we go. See,
just be honest. At the start of this show, like there's going to be spoilers. Like we are going to be talking about Andor episode 5.
I should just do that now. Here, I'll just do that now for everyone. Whatever we talk about. See there. Let me get the sound effects a little higher for everybody. There. See the sound. It took me forever to find the sound too. There will be spoilers for things. Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings. It's gonna happen, and you just need to know it. You just need to know it. Okay, we'll turn that back down. All right, awesome. Thanks everyone for joining the Kessel Chat. We really appreciate it. Karina is our guest. There, right there. Okay, awesome. Get the right direction. So happy to have you on the show. We've been mutuals on TikTok for a hot minute now, and it's just so much fun to interact with other humans in real life, and then have people to come on the show with us. We were talking in the kind of the pre-show that Ryan and I started the show, Kessel Chat, a year and a half ago, give or take, something like that. And in the last 4 or 5 months, we've started asking others to come on the show with us, other mutuals that we all follow too, from TikTok and other places. And it just makes it so much more fun because we get to all express. I mean, what we do on this show, for anybody who hasn't watched before, what we do on this show is all about storytelling. There's a lot of great lore masters out there. We all follow them on TikTok and other places who do lore so well. Awesome. We're not trying to do that. They've got that nailed. We're cool. What we're trying to do here is break down the stories, the Joseph Campbell hero's journey style of things. We want to get into the emotions and the feelings we all have about, like, what did we see in an episode of Andor, like tonight, or the High Republic, or insert thing here? How did it make us feel? Why is that important? Why does it build into the larger storytelling that Star Wars is working through overall? That's what we do on the Kessel Chat. And it's a lot of fun, and we are so happy to have you on the show with us.
Thank you so much.
It's cool. Do you want to? What other stuff do you do? Do you want to talk a little bit? Like, you want to just brag for a minute about the stuff that you do, and like what you're doing this weekend and other things you've got going on? Because that would be awesome.
Well, I mean, I'm mostly, on TikTok. I do some posts on Instagram, and then I go crazy on Twitter, and that's when I'm like mostly unhinged with all my thoughts. But yeah, no, just basically what I do. I just like to have fun. Creating these videos of, it could be silly stuff, it could be analysis, just fun stuff, and people like that, and they follow me for that. So hey, I'm here now.
That's how we became friends, and doing these things.
And then as I was telling you guys, I'm going to be at New York Comic Con this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I'm very, very excited for that. It's a lot of fun things, panels that I'm going to be trying to attend, the interviews that I'm going to do for Mortal Kombat Legends, Snowblind cast and crew. I'm going to definitely meeting up and going to see all these bunch of other content creators that we know from TikTok and YouTube and stuff. So it's going to be a pretty exciting weekend, and I can't wait.
Oh, so cool. It's so cool. Well, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'm honored. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And I know it's late for you. So for everyone watching the show right now, Ryan and I are both on California on the West Coast. Karina's not on the West Coast. So it's quite a bit later for her right now than it is for us. Way later. So thank you again. Okay, so tonight...
I'm assuming that you can probably watch Rings of Power right now, which I think I have to wait another half hour, and then I envy that, because I'll tell you right now, look. There's a lot of talk on Rings of Power all over the place, but I am loving the Rings of Power, so I'm enjoying it like crazy. I'm not some type of Prime Amazon Prime shill or something. Every time someone says something nice about Rings of Power, someone says you're getting paid for it. I am enjoying this. I love Middle Earth. I love that world. So the fact that I get to go and visit old friends, even if they seem a little bit different, I don't mind it.
No, I
But I
love
will
it.
say
It's
that.
amazing. A little more bragging. I was able to attend the early red carpet premiere here in New York City.
Oh my
Yes.
Um,
gosh!
I remember seeing
Wow.
yeah,
your videos of that. Oh my God. I was so jealous. I'm like,
yes,
oh my God, this is amazing.
yes.
Yeah.
I got to meet a lot of the actors. I'm the people, their names. I can't. I'm horrible with my memory, but all the main characters I got to meet. Aaron Deer. I took a
Oh,
Oh
picture of him and
wow.
everything. I got to speak to him.
Wow.
Galadriel, Poppy, of course, my beautiful Queen Disa. Oh,
oh,
Oh my
Disa.
yes.
gosh! By the
Queen
way,
Disa is
she's like,
Iriel.
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
every scene she's in, I love it. I'm always like, put her in more scenes.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm actually kind of worried about that character because I like her so much,
Every time
and
she
I'm
comes up,
like,
I'm like, you know what, Duran, yeah, he's fine, whatever. I want to see Disa more. Like when she sings to the rocks, I'm like, what is happening?
oh,
That I think is
I
one of the most beautiful things I've
It's
ever
gorgeous.
seen. Like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, just the not only her singing, but just seeing how in tune with nature they are. That they're
Hmm.
able to do this. I love that because Tolkien is all about nature, right?
Yes.
yeah,
So it's
I
beautiful to actually get to see it, on
yeah,
screen.
100%. I that is something that I'm loving about the Rings of Power is they are, yes, storylines are changing, whatever else. There's rights and permissions. Okay, whatever. Let's pick that box up and we'll just put that over here for right now.
Hmm.
The way in which the storytellers and the producers and the directors and cinematographers are conveying what you say, Karina, like what Tolkien wanted from these stories, which was a
Hmm.
not just a connection. I mean, at its root, inspiration was a modern mythology for Britain. That's what he wanted.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
building off of these sort of natural relationships between humans and the world that they lived in and the stories that come out of that, we're seeing that in this show. Not that we didn't see it in the Peter Jackson films, but it's more pronounced in this
Yes.
show than we've seen it before. And I really love like seeing Khazad-dûm with and the interaction between the dwarves and the world that they live in and how
Hmm.
meaningful that is and how interconnected and how much they live in harmony with each other, at least for now.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It really
Yeah.
is.
And even the simple gesture of Aaron Deer, like talking to the tree and like
yeah,
kind of
totally.
like, oh my God, when he was just like feeling so sad and down because of what
Yes.
he had to go do to the tree, that right there was just
And then later, when
amazing.
he grabs Bronwyn's hand and puts her hand on the tree,
Yes.
oh, that
Mhm.
that recompense that came back around
Mhm.
was beautiful,
Yes. And I
beautifully
love
executed.
the tradition that they do with the seeds. Even Adar, still did
Yes.
that
Yeah,
with the seeds of planting something before they go to battle.
Hmm.
Just
yeah.
because since they're gonna go create death, then you have to create some life as at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Beautiful.
No,
Ugh.
I've really enjoyed this. I think it's very clever. I know that there's some mystery box elements, and typically I'm not a mystery box person. I find I've lately it seems like everything's a mystery box, and I know there's the whole like who's Sauron type of mystery box. Oh yeah, it's fine. Like we'll see where
Yeah,
this all
that's the
goes. The truth
Mephisto
is,
thing
yeah,
of
Yes.
I'm
Marvel.
less interested in
Yes.
that, but the thing that I've really enjoyed is and it's stuff that I like hadn't thought that I was going to enjoy as much. I thought it was really clever to show up. And by the way, spoilers for Rings of Power. I thought it was really clever to show the foundation of Mordor. I remember when we started seeing the Southlands and all that, and I was like, "This is really great because really, it's if you want to do like as someone who's read like the Silmarillion, if you want to do the first age, tons of first age stuff. If you want to do the third age, tons of third age stuff. But Sauron is actually like kind of a squishy villain in the second age. It's like outside up until the fall of Numenor and the last alliance of men and elves.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that are missing, and I actually really enjoyed the whole foundation of Mordor. Of coming from the Southlands, and again another example of a big thing that Tolkien always talked about was that balance of nature and industry, and to see the smoking metal sword be used to destroy nature. That the fires, the fires of industry would burn through nature. Man, that was I was on the edge of my seat on that last episode.
Yeah,
That last episode
that last episode was, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
really
Jeff. Welcome back to the Rings.
Oh yeah,
hi.
I'm sorry. Where did we go for a second there? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So tonight we were going to talk about Andor episode 5 in part, as well as we were talking about in the pre-show, the High Republic Phase 2 is just so beautiful. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. But we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that later. Let's get into Andor episode 5. I don't know if y'all have a place to start, but Ryan, this is something we've brought up a few times, really, because you've brought it up a few times, and I mean this in the best possible way. We got a heist. Like, it's not that it wasn't being alluded to already, but we got the heist. It finally showed up. So we've had we were like having discussions of political thriller, spy thriller. What is this going to be? And then it started as sort of political, but maybe not political. And then spy thriller. And now we have a heist TV show. And for both of you, I'm very curious. We saw this coming. We saw these parts in the trailers. We didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but we could kind of infer what was going to happen. How do you both feel after this episode? Like, just generally, how do you both feel?
I think that this episode, well, it's just from the whole show, like you said, we don't know what we were going to get. We don't know the direction that it was going to go. We just know that it was about, the start of the rebellion and stuff, but I didn't think that we were going to get something so specific as just the main thing of, so far being that heist. And basically doing an Italian job, or, like on Ocean's 11. It's amazing. I love
Ocean's 11, yes, 100%.
But it's just so refreshing because it's such a different tone from all the rest of the, Star Wars. All these other Star Wars shows, of course, are amazing. They give us, the campy stuff, the Boba Fett's, the Mandalorians, the mysticism, the Jedi and the Sith. But what I'm loving about the show is what we spoke about this, Jeff. It's about the people. It's so grounded, It's not the big these big characters or larger than life characters. It's just in each individual. We're getting to know these individuals, and we are getting such an insight of what it was to be that part of Star Wars, that part of the galaxy, of the ones that were forgotten, the ones that didn't have a voice. So that's been my favorite part, I think. And this episode, of course, really gave us a lot of that with all these stories that each of the individual people that are in the show, they're starting to tell their stories on why they decided to, go and fight against the Empire. Now we're getting their perspective on it.
Yeah. So I completely agree. I like, I think that this show is very personal, and that's a thing that I like. If I could take even a step back and say, a lot of the streaming series often have like 8 to 10 episodes. They're like, well, we're doing 8 to 10 episodes. And often television writers struggle in writing 8 to 10 episodes. An example of that is, and I don't know, I know there's fans out there that love the seasons of Star Trek Picard. I think there are great episodes of Star Trek Picard, but it's hard to write 10 hours of television, and that are all consistent. And that's because sometimes it's okay, well, how do we fill this hour? You really get that sense from the writer's room that they're saying, how do we fill this hour? And how do we make time in this episode? And what I love about this is one of the best uses of episodic streaming television that I've seen, because they're taking time with these people. That every episode they're letting these moments land. They're letting things sit with someone. And that's the thing that I like. I like what Karina, you were saying about, you're learning about everybody's individual intentions. You're learning so much about the people. And I think that's what's a great use of this time, rather than some side quest that's just for filler, rather than some, oh, this is an action set piece, so this is an escape episode, so we're gonna just use up some time here. They're using every minute perfectly, and this episode was no exception, because not only did you get to learn a lot, not only did you get some really great scenes, even the way it was shot was to drive intensity and tension. The very first few shots are all long shots. Everything's super long. You're spending all this time with Cyril. You're spending all this time on the planet with Cassian. You're spending all this time when Mon Mothma. Think of that scene with Mon Mothma. The camera's just sitting on her at the table for a long time. One of the things I noticed in this episode was every scene after that gets shorter and shorter and shorter and tighter and faster. And they're cutting between all these storylines faster and faster and faster. And you get that sense of it's ramping up, it's ramping up, it's ramping up. This, to me, episode 5, probably, this isn't just a great Star Wars show or episode. This is like one of my top tier episodes of television. Like I can go in. Like I said, I brought notes. But Jeff, I'd love to hear what you think.
I feel the same. I don't think I articulated quite that way. I picked, there were certain points in the show that hit me really hard in how they were developing the characters out. So Cyril, we were talking about this in the pre-show, how Cyril was he's on Coruscant at his mom's place. Mom is doing the stereotypical mom thing, berating him. Why don't you have any prospects in life? In this Uncle Holdo, or whatever the person's name, this person she keeps referencing over and over again, will help you out, I'll call this person, The son's like, sure, okay. And the thing you're going to say next, Mom, is judgmental. And the next thing you're going to say is judgmental. And then I'll say a judgmental thing. Like, okay, all of us basically can relate to that. I think everyone watching here could be like, oh yeah, I've had that conversation with my mom many times in my life. And then in his room, and the son, that was the part of the one point of this episode that hit me more than anything else was Cyril in his room, looking out into whatever level of Coruscant he's in, and the sun comes up and passes by and shines on his face, and we get a focus on his face, and then a moment or two later it disappears because Coruscant's got to have an artificial environment, and we instantly get this like moment of Cyril being hopeful, like this look of maybe there is something good, and then, oh no, just kidding, there's not. Things are kind of crap for you right now. And it goes back to that, and instantly you're drawn right back into where the TV show wants you to be. It's this sense of hope, but we're not there yet. Like, there's a sense of hope, but we're not actually there yet. We're actually here still. And as dark as that felt for a moment or two, at least for me, it reminded me that the entire show is grounded in, but we're right here right now. And we want to be here, but we're not there yet. We've got to go through some stuff to get there. That's sort of like Robert Frost and like the road, the path less taken, or what have you. Like, we've got to get to that place first. So when it came later on to scenes like, another one that I loved is when Cassian and the group are on, what is the name of the planet they're on to do the heist? I can't, Fenor or
Aldani?
Something like that. Yeah. They're on that planet, and they're practicing marching as troopers, like as soldiers for a moment or two. And I really appreciated that scene because it reminds everybody, in my opinion, that these are people who really have to adapt to what is actually happening over here. They're not just nameless soldiers. They're not just stormtroopers. There's a cadence and a momentum and things that happens. And then, like, right after we see that, I think it cut over to the lieutenant who's helping them, and two of the lieutenants, like the non-commissioned officers, talking to the lieutenant saying, the men really need this for morale. In my memory, that was the first time we've heard anybody from the Empire talk about morale of the troops or something like that. It's always, they're stormtroopers. Who cares? They're just, we don't care what they think. We just do a thing. We move on. This was the first time I think we've ever seen somebody who's militaristic talking about enlisted soldiers as if they're actual people, and we need to keep the troops' morale up. And the lieutenant interacts with them as such, just like you'd expect to see any military today in the world that we live in. And I think there's something interesting about that, something really special about how that interaction played out, because Karina, you said it earlier, it reminds us of the humanity. And I know there's not a lot of non-humans in Star Wars, so I don't mean that to be like insensitive, but I say that as in like there's a human connection that all of us watching the show can connect with when we see that sort of action happen where this lieutenant or these soldiers talk about our people need to have morale. Okay, let's do this thing that we need to do. There's something about those interactions that bring us back to this grounded nature of the show that makes everyone feel like these are real people dealing with real things, whether they're on the Empire side or they're not the Empire. They're real people living in a real world dealing with the real world problems. It is not so binary as the mystical space wizards and the bad evil people over here, because that's not how the world works. There is binary is not reality. There's not this or this. It's a spectrum. And I think this episode, if none others, this episode to me really shined a light on that.
No, absolutely. I think I wanted to make I just want to bring up how, you know, during the Clone Wars, we got that humanity from the clones, but it was just from them.
Right.
Like, we didn't get a lot from just, again, the regular people. When, like, for example, when we got the episodes with Saw Gerrera and his sister and stuff, it was just because they were the small group that was still serving a purpose for, the Jedi and stuff like that. It wasn't that they were on their own. But in this show, like you said, we're seeing them outside of that Jedi, big empire, world and stuff. And I think that it's answering, because I think many of us have always questioned, like, how is the life of a stormtrooper? Like, what is it for them? Do they have a family? Like, kind of personal life do they have? And this is kind of like giving us that with Cyril,
Totally.
and now these, what we got in this episode with those officers. So I that's another great point, that how they're driving that in the show.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed that, because I kept making references to things like, I'll also say that there's as just like I'm a big fan of history, and I wrote down so many times how I was hearing things that were very reminiscent of civil wars that have happened and revolutions that have happened, whether in the United States or Spain or Russia or Cuba, South America. I started like making all of these, like, there were all these references to that. There's also a really great movie with a former co-star of Diego Luna, Gael Garcia Bernal, who they did Gael Garcia Bernal did a movie called The Motorcycle Diaries, which is about Che Guevara. And that there was often times where I was hearing the music from The Motorcycle Diaries in this episode, and I found myself hearing the two sides of both the Empire and the rebellion as told by people. That oftentimes people look back on things like, oh, this fascist state, how did that happen? How could that have occurred? And you see the people that are involved in reinforcing, being guards of that fascism, being guards of the empire, and helping to enforce it, and even the mundanity, or if that's the word, of bureaucracy that is involved in fascism. The one guy who says, "Oh, can I be the prefect? I know that doesn't come with any extra pay, but I just want the job title." That's all of that bureaucracy of fascism. But then simultaneously, how do great revolutions happen? And it's these people, and I hate to say this, it's often the unknowns, the people that don't make it out. And that's one of these things that I think that you see on both of this. You see the faceless masses that support a fascist imperial organization, and you see the unknowns that sacrifice their lives trying to overthrow it. And that's where I like that there's a light being shined on both, because it's that dichotomy that makes stories like this so compelling. I couldn't tear myself away from this episode. I actually kept rewinding parts of it, because things that were being said, there were lines in this that were so well put together, and I don't mean cleverly written. I mean like artwork, like some of the shots, some of the lines. This is what I mean. It was just a beautiful television, and just some amazing writing as well. And I already talked about this in the pre-show. Nemec, Man, that guy, I loved almost every time that guy was on screen. It was like, put that guy on screen more.
He's very like, matter of fact. Like when he was explaining what is it called? The meteor shower thing.
Oh
Everybody's
yeah.
like, oh, it's so mystical. And he's like, no, it's just this scientific thing that's happening. It's not nothing crazy.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved that. But I felt like there was so much that was there from like every shot kind of built on each other, and that's what I mean by this was just a really well crafted. Like there's the conversation that's happening between Andor and Skeen, and they're talking about the tattoos, and I
Yes.
loved how there's this very slow reveal of the expertise that Cassian has and how much time it takes to build trust with this small group, and how he has to earn their trust and show like the right-handedness, left-handedness, all of those scenes, which were amazing. And then how quickly that trust can evaporate.
Yes.
I loved that. But there's a scene where they're talking about tattoos and, where, and the whole line about the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. How people are shaped by their experiences. But even just the fact that the tattoo that's on Skeen's arm then looks like the symbol on Mon Mothma's daughter's shirt. There was all of these scenes that kind of just kept building on each other. That the green and browns of where the rebels are, the white and golds of where Mon Mothma is, the dark, deep blues and odd 70s oranges of Cyril. All of these things were so diametrically opposed, but they're all threaded together. And what I liked was there's a line in this, and I'm sorry because I'm talking too much. There's a line in this where in the ISB, when they're talking about all of these things are chaotic, they don't look like they should all be strung together. And they're talking about the rebellion. And I was like, this is this episode. None of these things, none of these worlds should meet. And yet there's a line that is being drawn through all of them. It's so great. So smart. I'm sorry, Jeff. I know that. Jeff, Karina, this is the problem that I have, is that I start going. And then it's like, I can't
this
stop.
is awesome. But this is what this is. Like, it's awesome because there is so much that you can analyze just from the small details in the show. And just the way that they connect everything. And it's beautiful. And what you were saying with again showing us, on a smaller scale, like what we've gotten with the movies and everything, we know that anybody that works in the Empire, their goal is to make it higher than the next. Just keep climbing that corporate ladder per se. And that was like always the general gist of it. But then now we get to see exactly the bureaucracy that goes into it, like the way that Deidre is clashing with the other officer and how they're trying to, outdo each other and stuff. And they're really doing it. Not only, she's really interested because, that it's like she has a fixation of having to find out what's wrong. And now she got in her head about the rebellion. So she has to finish the task. But it's also because, again, she has to prove herself. She wants to make that name for herself. Same way as Cyril. Cyril's on that same path, and we don't get to see that from the lower level, like how they started from we started from the bottom, now we're here, type of thing. Because we're always just seeing, the main players in the Empire.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And so two parts of that I wanted to tangent off of because I really enjoy was, one, the person she's sort of in competition with in the ISB, or she perceives competition with in the ISB, whatever it happens to be, he's kind of a tool. Let's just be honest. Like the guy's like, you're rooting for her no matter what, because she seems pretty awesome. Like she's actually really trying, and he just seems like a cog in the machine, sort of a tool. Honestly, I just in all senses of that word. But okay, also random tangent. The person who's sort of her partner in helping her investigate, are we getting Tarkin vibes from him? Because his haircut, I took a picture of him while I was watching the show. I paused and like, this dude looks like a young Tarkin. Like, not just the hair, but how his demeanor is, his face shape, everything. Like, did they do that on purpose? Because brilliant. All I can think of is Grand Moff Tarkin when I see this guy over and over again, like wanting to be like so into it with her. I really,
yes.
I really enjoy that. I'm glad that we're getting to see the ISB too. When it first came to the scene, this isn't in episode 5, but when it first came to seeing the ISB on Coruscant, I think I posted a video about this saying, is this the first time we've seen Coruscant, like, you know, the prequels and all that type of stuff, but this is the first time we've seen in a show Coruscant at all, like in the more modern shows, not the prequels of the other movies, but the modern shows. We haven't seen Coruscant other than, yes, in Kenobi, briefly in the distance on the balcony with Kenobi, but for the most part, we haven't seen the city or the Egumenopolis that is that planet. And so getting to see all these different aspects of the city, specifically the how clean it looks. We talked about this, I think, before, Ryan. I actually really enjoy how clean they're showing, how bright and like washed the cityscape looks at this point, because it really reinforces for you that the Senate is still there. There's still a facade of to the normal people in the galaxy. Everything's fine. He's just the Supreme Chancellor. It's all good. Nobody knows any different, except that we get the peek behind the curtain with Mon Mothma and Perrin, and Perrin's just a he's a jackass. He just sucks. He sucks. And like it's the right thing for the story, but the dude sucks. He just does.
No, but they do so well in making Mon Mothma a real person. She's not, again, just someone who's like, many Bothans died for this, or just someone who's just it shows that she's risking a lot. And by the way, this is another thing that I love about this show is everything is a slow reveal. You learn a little bit more about Cassie.
Right.
You learn a little bit more about Vel. You learn a little bit more about Skeen. You learn a little bit more about all these people. And you learn then when Mon Mothma's daughter appeared. Oh man, I was like,
okay. So
I was like,
yes,
like,
I have
so
many thoughts about that. What I loved about that scene, I really want to hear what both of you have to say about this. What I loved about that scene, beyond like her daughter, oh my gosh, she has a daughter, and she has a husband. Okay, I guess that stands to reason. She has a daughter. Like, who is this character that we thought we all knew from back in the day? What I loved about that scene and how the three of them interacted was the daughter and the husband were on the same page. But with Mon Mothma, she was very literally the third wheel. And what I found that so interesting about that was when she was talking to Luthen in his art gallery in the previous episode, we get the sense that she's like, I'm going to be the first who falls. Then in this episode, when we see that scene, it started to make clear to me that we thought that Perrin was just, pardon my French, like he's just a dick. Like that's what we thought in the last, like the guy's just a jerk. But in this episode, we're like, no. Family dynamics, there's a lot more going on here. She probably isn't as present with her family as they want her to be. She's more focused on these other things, but she's consuming her life. And I could go down that path further, but I guess my point is that to your point, Ryan, there's a lot more happening here than what you see in the previous scene. It's slowly being revealed that there is more nuance and layers that is occurring all the time, but we're not seeing it yet. I find that just amazing because it really gets the heart of the storytelling they are trying to convey with this. That is, nothing is what it seems. Nothing is as simple as this or this. Nothing is binary. Everything is a spectrum. There's nuances that you don't understand that lead people to do the things that they do. And what we see in that family dynamic, I think, is really going to have a big effect on the rest of the series. Karina, I'd love to hear what you think about that.
I think one of the hints that I think concerning Perrin, because normally in when the teenage daughter is being rebellious towards one of the parents, the other parent, if they're talking back to one of the parents, the other parent is like, oh, don't be like that, trying to calm her down, Perrin was just there letting it happen like nothing and smiling and it's, hey, she's saying what she got to say. I don't got nothing to do with this. He did not interject. And that's when we get Mothma saying, oh, thanks for the support, which is very real because you'd be like, okay, why was he acting like that? Why was he letting his daughter just talk to his mother, like her mother like that, So there's definitely something way more, like you said, Jeff, they're going on with them.
as a parent, watching that moment, I was like, oh wow, like this guy, this is not good, because parents, you're a united front. Now you might disagree, but you disagree when the kid leaves. You're like, hey, like we need to talk, but we present a united front, and then when the kid's there. What I thought was interesting, and where I think I have a feeling where this is going, is because I felt that when you're in her space Buick later with her husband, which, by the way, I love that. I love how everything looks like the 1970s. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like everything looks like the 1970s. Like Cyril's little place, everything. What is mom's wearing? So I love the look of the 70s, the future 70s. The thing that I get, that I feel this is building up to with Mon Mothma and her husband and her daughter, is that they are on the side of don't rock the boat. We got a great thing here, and the things that you're doing are causing us problems. It's causing the risks that she's starting to take, the public positions, because she's already said these people hate me because of the positions that I take. So people already know that she's a politician that is like a pariah, and the daughter and the husband, and you think about, they're in this clean palace of gold. It's like all gold, and all their clothes are just uber clean, and the jewelry and everything. It's just, we are on the tip top. Why are you rocking this boat? We don't have to worry about everyone that's down here. And that's the thing that I kind of like about this, is that it makes Mon Mothma more of a character who is risking so much for people that she doesn't even know exist, that she's probably not even engaging with every day, but is aware of the risks for them. I like this dimension of this character. I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, just to think, it's just like a sad thought that probably when she finally decides to go, and like what we saw in Rebels, just finally leave, the whole Senate thing and go join the rebellion officially, you already know that the husband is not going to be there with her. He's going to leave her alone. And then I'm most likely the daughter as well. They're going to be like, well, I don't know. I'm here with my dad. I don't know what my mom is doing. We're not with that, and just basically her family abandons her,
And that's the thing that I kept thinking about, historical revolutions. And I don't know why, but I kept thinking of the Spanish Civil War, which, by the way, there's another really great movie, Pan's Labyrinth, that also is an amazing
good movie
example. Oh my gosh! Guillermo del Toro, by the way, by the way, I can keep going off on Guillermo del Toro, but because that guy's like amazing. But that Pan's Labyrinth is a great movie that shows the risks to the individual. There's obviously a lot of that's written about the Spanish Civil War, but one of the things that I thought of was how people would betray their families to the state. That the state was more important than your family. And that was a big part of the fascist regime that was installed there. And that's the thing that you get the cleanest view of the risk to Mon Mothma is, and this is why I think the political thriller is still present in this show, is it's a danger to be her in her house. The thing that I thought is really interesting is everybody on the show is putting on some type of costume. You have Cassian, who's having to wear a costume and wear an identity. You have Mon Mothma, who's having to wear an identity and literally change into clothing. You have Luthien, who's having to wear an identity to get the things that he's trying to get to. I like this because it ratchets up that tension, because if someone finds out who they really are, that's the risk. If someone finds out who Cassian really is, and even that was a risk, all of his trust evaporated in that instance when they found out who he was. He handled that situation well, but he says something. I don't want anybody looking over their shoulder at me, looking over their back at me. I don't want to be looking over my back. Think of a world that you're living in where you're constantly looking over your shoulder. That is what the Empire is building. That's what I mean. I love this. I love this.
Yeah, it is really setting up this. It's setting up the rebellion in the way I think we all needed the rebellion to be set up in this TV show, which is, or in these things in general, which is, it's not just some noble act that a bunch of people go, you know what, for the good of everybody, we're gonna go like buck up and do the thing. Like that works in the late 1970s for a movie you're trying to make, and like cool, it's fantastic. But when you really want to talk about what does it take to make that a reality, the French Resistance in World War II, or any other revolution that has happened, it's not simple. There is nothing easy. There's no centralized anything. You just do the thing you think you can do because it's the thing you think you need to do. And maybe something centralized like we're starting to see in this show come about from that, but you don't really know. You really have no idea what it's going to become later on. And how does that shape the people that are involved in that? And we see it with Vel and Skeen and this group of people that are doing this one thing. They've been on for 5 months now. We're seeing it with them. They don't trust a lot of people. They're very tight-knit. They're nervous about every little thing that happens. Casting comes in, and that changes the whole dynamic. And it reinforces that these are people dealing with a tough set of situations in the best way they possibly can. And nothing about it is easy. Even when they were together and working well together, nothing about that is easy. Then you throw this bombshell in the mix, and it changes everything. But that's reality. That's what our lives are really like. And I think that's the part of these stories that allow all of us here in this show and in other places to connect so well with Andor. Not the person, but the show itself and all the characters, because we watch this. I won't speak for both of you, but at least for me, like when I watch this, there is something in every individual person that I can see that I deal with in my own personal anxiety and things of that nature that, yes, I would. These are like the 12 stages of everything that are happening on screen in 12 different characters. Like you get to see it play out at different points and different times. Like this is exactly what this would look like in any situation and does look like. We just get to watch it in a show towards one specific outcome they're trying to reach. But this is what the world actually looks like around us right now. Today, yesterday, 10 years ago, 50 years in the future, it will always look like this is what we have to deal with as people, which makes it resonate so well with us.
Absolutely, absolutely right. I wanted to point out something about the heist. Like up until this point, okay, we know that there's still no rebellion, and just to think that what they're gonna do tomorrow in the sense of the show with the heist, it's probably gonna be the spark of everything that is gonna transpire with the rebellion. That is the start. Because that is probably like the first time that something that big is going to be done against the Empire. Because I know we got like Saw Gerrera doing his little things, those terrorist things, but obviously he's not a big, like huge things that the Empire is not like really paying him too much mind at this moment because he hasn't done like anything huge. But just to imagine that we're gonna get to see the thing that actually got the Empire's attention. That now, it's oh man, I don't know. I think that's so exciting and thrilling that we're getting to see exactly what the moment when everything is gonna get started.
Yeah, I completely agree. And in fact, I thought it's like very realistic because a lot of revolutionaries start by robbing banks.
Yeah,
and the reason why is because they need money. They need money to fund
fund
their
it.
activities.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I thought was so interesting was that that's a real thing. There's two sides to this. One, they're taking away all this payment, which again, there's a lot of things of because I look at Star Wars often as fantasy more than like sci-fi. Like Star Trek's very sci-fi. Warp plasma's got to move through the cells and everything.
Definitely, like space fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things when you're doing that fantasy, it's just like with Lord of the Rings, it's like how you manage that world building. And one of the things that's always hard, I think, is money. And I thought it was really interesting that they introduced that there was a corporate structure, which is again the privatization of certain items to then be used against the people. Again, a political history. This is political history 101. The fact that there was a corporatocracy that was managing this planet before the empire came in and then took it from the corporation and said, no, it's us now. But the money aspect I thought was such a real world concept to bring to fantasy that also fits in this world because, one, that money disappears. Will their service on that station disappear? No, those people are indentured to the empire, and that's going to be a wake-up call for them. And then likewise, that money will need to be used to funnel into other rebel activities. I think you're absolutely right. I think this is the spark that hits off the rebellion, and it's also the thing that opens up the eyes of these aren't all random incidents. They are in fact all connected, just like all of these groups.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
cool.
think you're absolutely right. It's going to be exactly that.
Oh, it's so cool. I hadn't even thought about it that way until you said Saw Gerrera. I'm like, you can almost, as if you're the Empire, you can almost dismiss Saw Gerrera because like he's a terrorist. It's easy. He's just going to blow some ish up and whatever. And it's not that you have to ignore it, but like, okay, fine. We know he's going to blow some things up. We'll deal with the collateral damage. Okay, fine. Send some tanks after them, whatever. This isn't that. This, by its nature, is almost just more personal. There's more on the line.
Money is always personal.
Yeah, there's so much more on the line for everybody involved in this than simple property damage. Not that that's all Saw Gerrera has done, but that's what we know him for the most part, as partisans, is kind of property damage for the most part. Yes, it gets attention because... Of course it will, but it's
and
not
stealing supplies and stuff. But they already know that's because maybe they're poor and they're just stealing because they need the stuff.
Right? Yes. There is more personal than that. It really is. Well, listen, we are at the end of the hour, and we want to make sure, Karina, you get to bed on time because you've already been up super late for us. And thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Before we wrap, we're gonna do real quick for the folks that are watching live and Team Replay. So the High Republic Phase 2 came out this last week on Tuesday officially. Yes, like the symbol monkey hands of like it's just everything about it is exciting. Book 1 is right here, Path of Deceit by Justina Ireland and Tessa Grattan. And for everyone who's watching live or catching us in Team Replay, for the next 2 weeks we are going to run a little giveaway. So you can win a copy of this book. It's right here, this book. I'll keep it very protected next to my other comic books that I haven't read yet. So all we ask, and we'll put it out there online, but all we ask is folks watching, subscribe and follow. We'll post it on social media too, but we would love the subscribes and follows, and then we'll enter you into a drawing to win this book and get you started. Hopefully, the point of this really is not just to give a book away and get subs. Yeah, that's cool. But the point of this is clearly the three of us love not just Star Wars, but the storytelling behind it and the connection we all feel to these stories and the people. And we want to help everyone watching feel that too. And the High Republic and these books are such a great way to get... The comic books too are such a great way to get into these stories. You can find yourself in these stories. The young adults, the youth novels, all of them are beautiful. So we'll be giving this away. Please like, subscribe. We'll put it all out there for you. But Karina, thank you so much again for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I mean, thank you. I've been trying to get on. We've been trying to, right?
Yes.
But I'm finally. I'm glad it finally happened.
It'd be great to have you come back. It'd be great to do a wrap up on Andor. And we were already talking about Lord of the Rings and Doom Patrol. We're gonna have Doom Patrol chat.
Exactly. We'll just make a new show on the channel. It'll be fine. Yeah. Awesome.
I'm always down whenever you guys want to have
Excellent.
me. So
well, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it, Ryan. It's good to see you, buddy. Everyone, thank you for being here. Team Replay, thanks for catching later on. Like and subscribe, all the things you do on YouTube. And with that, have an awesome night, and we will see you soon.
Hey, thanks everybody.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.